Andy, I know I promised Grove Tower footage today, but my phone died, and I'm sorry. Also, I only just got home from school, and it is now 5:30. 5:30! My goodness, writing subplans is just a whole lot more difficult than actually just doing it yourself, right? And I had to write subplans today because I am going to a training tomorrow for my job. Yay! And Andy, let me tell you, the act of writing subplans for a PBL lesson is a whole lot harder than writing subplans for a regular lesson. So I thought to myself, I should tell you about what PBL is and what it isn't, because there seem to be a lot of people who I talk to who are just really confused as to what this whole PBL thing really is. Now, let me say this right off the bat. What PBL looks like for me might not be what PBL looks like for everyone. Because PBL is such like a big, broad term, it really can be defined in different ways. But I can tell you what it is for me and what it looks like in my classroom and what it definitely is not across the board. So let me start with the obvious. PBL stands for project-based learning, and it's just a different way of teaching that gives students a chance to be more hands-on and also to take a bigger role in their own education. So for my students, this may mean a teacher-directed project where I put together everything and tell the students what the end goal is and help them get to the end goal. Or this might be an individual project where the student comes up with what they want to do on their own and I sit down and I help them plug in standards to get there. And I think this is really cool because it's totally individualized for each student. Like, I have some students who are like higher learners, higher readers, and they have the option of designing their own project and looking at the Common Core state standards and saying, I want to do a research project, and these things fit into the criteria of writing a research project, and I need to be able to do these things by the time I'm done. And this is really like a metacognitive strategy because it shows students the way that they learn best, and it shows students like, oh, so this is my end goal, let me make the steps on how I get there. It's really cool actually because I'm teaching my students to plan projects the way that I plan projects. And that really is the end goal. What they have going here is not just something for themselves, and it's not just a funnel either to college or to career. This is the impact that you can make right here, right now as a student. And this is just so empowering, Andy. When I was in middle school and high school, I was told, oh yeah, eventually you'll be able to make an impact. Go to college first. But here, I get to say to my students, hey, you are capable, you are skilled, and you are totally, totally ready to take on the front end of this project and to do the thing that will change the world right now. And this is really cool for me as a teacher, too, because oftentimes I don't really feel like I'm teaching so much as being a project manager. So what I do is I teach the content, I teach the lesson, and then I say, this is what you have to get done, go ahead and do it. And for teacher-based projects, I'm the one who maps out the due dates and the steps along the way. But for those individual-based projects, the kids, I gave them a calendar and I said, fill in what you want to have, and this is the due date. How are you going to get from point A to point B to point C to the end within that time frame? And they all just figured it out themselves. A little bit of guidance, a little bit of help, but they are totally capable of saying, I can write a research paper and it will take me 1 week of basic writing, 1 week of editing, and then I will build my project. And it's just really cool, you know? Maybe in a future video, I'll go into more of the designing process for a project, and I showed you a little bit of that back in January when we did our PD. We have a whole series, it's called Launch, Experience, Make, Share. It's our PBL process, and that's how the kids get through the project. And I'll make another video about that some other time. But I just wanted to share with you what PBL is, which I just did, and also what PBL is not. When I was doing my student teaching, I had 2 placements. You know, I had one in the fall of 2016 and one in the spring of 2017. And when I finished up my fall of 2016 work, I had just come off of a project-based school, and I was just like on cloud 9. I was like, oh, I love project-based learning. This is the greatest thing ever. And I was super into it, you know? And so I sat down with my new co-teacher, and I was like, hey, would you allow me to do a project-based learning thing in your classroom? And she said, I'm not sure if that'll work for me. And I said, oh, okay, but what would you like me to do instead? And she said, here, this is the curriculum, teach that. And I was like, oh, okay, so I'll do this along with it, and this, and she goes, no, all of the assignments are in there, just copy them and teach that. And I was kind of heartbroken because I was like, this isn't what I want to do as a teacher. Like, this is boring. And I can say that because the curriculum that I was teaching was literally the exact same one that I took when I went to school. And I remember how boring it was. And so I tried to open it up and I was like, hey, project-based learning does all of this and look how I can fit these standards in here. And she goes, oh yeah, we do project-based learning 1 week out of the year during medieval week. And the kids learn all the stuff and the 2 weeks before, and then the week of medieval week, they dress up in costumes and they build a castle. And Andy, as fun as building that castle was, it was not PBL because there was no authentic content tied in. There was no authentic audience tied in. The kids were doing it just for the heck of it. There was no specific purpose and there was no student motivation to do it. Every kid did it because that's what every kid was told to do. And that is the definition of what PBL is not. PBL is not sit and get for a week and then build a thing. It's not learn about the thing and then make a poster about it. PBL is student engagement. It's all about how do we get a student to come in, how do we meet a student at their level. We need to be able to address the needs of such a wide range of students these days. Like, I am so very fortunate to have a classroom where I only have, at max, 18 kids. But there are so many classrooms out there that have 30 kids or more in them. And it would be so hard as a teacher to do just regular traditional education with them because they're all in such different areas. And for me, PBL gives me the chance to differentiate more and say, hey, you know what? Not everybody is up here, and that is okay because it's okay to meet you where you are at. And you will get there eventually, but maybe it's not today, maybe it's tomorrow, maybe it's next week, and we will work with you to get there. And it's so hard to do that when you're kind of being strangled by a traditional curriculum. So there you have it, Andy. My thoughts on PBL. A little bit of a longer video today, but I'd love to hear what you think. Like, do you think that this is an authentic way to teach? Personally, I think it's the way of the future, and I don't think I could ever go back to teaching traditional ed. I've been so fortunate to have a student teaching placement and then this job come along, and PBL has really opened my eyes to what kids can really do. What kids can really do if you invest in them and give them the resources that they need to be successful and to learn that there is more out there than science, social studies, language arts, and math. And this is not to say that teachers in traditional schools aren't doing amazing things and making a huge difference in kids' lives, because I know that they are. I was a traditional school kid, well, Christian school kid, all the way through, and my teachers made such a huge impact on my life. I just think that for the population that I teach and for the area that I teach in, this is the best way to teach. And to be honest, I hope that more schools go this path in the future too. It would be really, really great to see kids making a difference in the world. All right, I'll get off my soapbox now. Love you, Andy. Bye.